Welcome back to the RCast podcast, a podcast from the Arkansas Podcast Collaborative. And I'm Ty King, but with me is a special guest. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Claire Brown. Yep, I'm Claire Brown.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Claire.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be part of RCast, our festival that's happening this year in Central Arkansas. It's long, but you're going to be one of our main speakers at September 7th. It's hard for me to keep the dates straight. We've been working on getting everything organized.
Yeah.
So that's great. But so you're well known in the area, especially here in Central Arkansas, for a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So
be careful who you ask. I know.
Listen, you're on some of the news broadcasts, like we just talked about before we got started here.
Yeah.
Like you're pretty well known in the community. So, you want to talk about some of the things that you are known for?
Right. Sure. The good, the bad, the ugly. No, I mean, always. I know, right? I always wonder when people come up to me in the grocery store, and I'm like, how do I know you? Yeah, right. So, I started selling real estate 22 years ago. My anniversary date actually is this week, and I started selling real estate to fund the life, and that's what it's done. I decided to do that to put myself through college, and then stuck with it. And I think as we've discussed, that many people know me through Little Rock PowerWomen, which also started by something organically. Yeah, so I became single and was not prepared for that in every way. And I think many times when we go through life changes, we're not prepared. We don't know what we don't know. And I recognized that I needed so much help. I needed community, and I needed that. And so I contacted some moms at the kids' school and at church and said, listen, I need carpool, I need mom night outs. I have a ton of questions about my vagina. And they're like, oh my God, so do I. And so I said, hate a group text. I had a millennial that was an assistant working with me at the time. She's like, listen, you can just make this private Facebook group. It'll send you a notification. You can turn it off, whatever you want to do. And so I said, this is perfect. We'll just do this. You can check it or not, but whatever. We're going to have a mom night out Friday night. Show up, bring your own wine, and that's it. Well, we did.
Okay.
We all got drunk and kicked out, and we were on the curb in the Heights like bad moms, and their husbands carpooled us home. So evidently that's what we all needed, whether we were single or married or separated or widowed or whatever the circumstance. And they then told all their friends, and they're like, you're not going to believe this. And so it went from just the 6 of us to over 1,500 in less than 3 weeks. And so 5 years later, we're now at almost 22,000 just here in Central Arkansas. The thing that people don't realize is that real estate is what drove everything, like you and I have discussed. And when all of this growth took off locally with PowerWomen, my personal growth was also taking off. And I was in business coaching much earlier than the group. And so I had the mentorship and the guidance of people much higher in growth and learning and connectivity and all these things than I did. And so them pouring into me at a high level allowed for my growth to explode. It's true. Who you surround yourself with really, really matters. It influences you, and it will show up. I mean, the handprints of that in everybody's journey are huge. And so I then not only had their influence, but then their connectivity. And so that then allowed me to be recruited into many other positions. That then allowed me opportunity for trainings that I would have never had. And that then allowed me connectivity with people to interview them, to get to know them, have friendships, more influence, and more leadership opportunities and trainings that I would have never experienced all across the country, to then be able to be that vessel and that source for these women that were coming into this space. And so it was very divine. None of this I asked for. I didn't intend for any of this to happen, and yet it was all circling at the same time and very intentional, but I wasn't the one making it happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of, I'm a mother.
Yeah.
I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, which is one of the largest challenges of my life right now. And then I own a brokerage. I own a real estate brokerage. Like I said, real estate not only has funded everything financially, however, but emotionally, spiritually, business, intellectual, property, and all the things. It's really what has allowed me the growth to bring all this to the table for others. And then I also run Little Rock PowerWomen, which is where I launched the podcast, which is where I found my resources to write the book and publish the book. And then now Channel 4 called and asked me to do a segment for them every week.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I saw your segment yesterday about keeping tabs on your children with electronic devices, right?
Yeah. Human trafficking is now more prevalent than guns in our country as far as, I don't know how to phrase it, as far as violations, if you will. And so really we should focus more on the dangers and the protection of our children rather than, or in my opinion, I should say.
Sure.
Than how many people are owning guns and what they're doing with them, because the protection of our children and really where they're going and how they're getting there is far more dangerous right now than who's just picking up something to protect themselves sometimes. And yes, people misuse and they're bad apples in every bunch. Yeah. But I really feel that the attention of people taking our children right now is huge.
Yes, absolutely.
One is too many. Yeah. And I think my awareness of it is now also because my children are teenagers. They're online. They're in these chat rooms. They're in all these things. And I've now learned those worlds, and I see how easy it is. And they're so manipulative at their ages, emotionally. And so they'll feed into anything almost. They're so molding, and they're just little balls of clay. And they want to be seen and heard so desperately at those ages, which that never goes away for any of us.
Right.
But at those ages, it's very high up on the list.
Yeah. I mean, you needed a support system after you started going into the real estate and developed into PowerWomen. I mean, same thing with children.
Oh, yeah.
When you're growing up, you need somebody to help you along the way, mentor you, and you learn from other people's mistakes and triumphs and what worked.
Very much. Very much. So
you cross so many different types of media. Seems like you're trying to hit them all.
I don't know that I'm trying. It just comes.
Right.
Again, none of this was with my full intention. All I wanted was a carpool buddy and some mom night out. And then all this just came.
Yeah.
So it's been very clear to me that this is my path. This is my purpose. This was meant for what I was supposed to do. And I'm not just, but that's a minimization word. I am the vessel for it. And I'll take that calling.
Right. So what made you want to branch out into podcasting? I want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah. So I've always been a very curious person. I'm always one to question rather than just make a judgment, if you will. And those words can be very hot buttons right now. So I want to take a step back and say, when I say that, it's like, well, that is red. And I'll take a step back and go, what shade of red would that be? How did it get there? And who decided to put it there? And what can we change it to? And what good would that serve? And just ask a lot of questions around it rather than just accepting it as red. And it's just as simple as that. That's just how my mind works. So when I started seeing, I'm on the back end, on the administrative end. So I'm seeing these women join this group organically. I can see who's adding them. I can see if they're joining on their own, all these things, right? By the way, in the first couple of months that the group was taking off, there were so many members joining every day that Facebook shut us down 3 times. Yeah, because they viewed it as spam. And so we had to email them and say, hey, let us back up, please. So I saw these women joining and I recognized their names. I knew who they were. I had never met them. I did not know them in our community. And they were very influential, powerful women. Of course, living here my entire life, selling here for 22 years, I also knew where they lived in being in real estate. It's like I tell my children, I'm Google Maps. Yeah. Anywhere you go, I will know where you are, and I will pull you out by your underwear. So do not mess up without me knowing about it.
Yes.
And so, here these wonderful women are joining, and I'm like, hey, this is this, and this is this, and she lives here, and I want to sell her house. And so I wanted to talk to all of them. And then the curiosity that I have is, well, I wonder how she did this, and I wonder when she did that, and what made her think of that. And I just wanted to know so much about all of them. I wanted to be their friend. I wanted to have cocktails with them. I wanted to sit down and have coffee with them. I wanted to unpack so much. And I thought, this is my opportunity. And it's not just me. This group has shown me I'm not alone in all these things. Everybody wants a carpool buddy. Everybody wants to unpack these conversations. And so everybody needs the tools that this woman obviously holds in her belt. And so I started contacting these women. I just messaged them on Facebook, like we're buddies already.
Sure.
And said, hey, we've got this many members joining every day, and so appreciate you being here. And I'd love to talk to you privately in this group, just with the women, over the lunch hour, and talk to you about your journey, how you grew, what you did, and how I could help some of these other women.
Sure.
No one said no. Everyone said yes. They're like, absolutely, when you want it, da-da-da. And they just immediately jumped. And it was incredible. So every week within the group, every Friday or every Thursday at lunch, there would be a 30-minute interview live. It was live. And it was with an amazing woman in the C-suite position, executive director position, something like that, within our community here that has made huge impact strides for just women, children, others. I mean, whatever cause she's driven about, and how she's really pushing the envelope for others in our community. And then it was like, I could see the viewership. I could see the engagement. And it was like, this doesn't need to be just with women here. All of us need to know these things. Again, I'm going to go back to, I had built a huge network across the country. I also created PowerWomen of Real Estate. Well, that took off too. So now all of a sudden I've got 5,000 realtors that are female all across the country that are also the same growth mindset that I am, because we're in this network of coaching and all these things as well. And then not only that, most of them are much more productive and much more successful than I am, right? I have a lot to learn from all of them. And yet here I'm having these conversations that can help them too. So I launched a podcast because that's essentially what it's turned into. And then I'm able to share that Little Rock has so much to offer. Well, then these women across the country are like, well, you need to talk to the woman here. You need to talk to this woman. So then I'm starting to gain guests from all these other places across the country, from powerful women in their own right, who real estate's funding the life for them too. But these are their clients and their customers and their friends who are changing the world in their space. And they're like, you've got to leverage this powerful woman as well. And so then the voices start to get echoed everywhere about how we're all moving the pendulum at the grassroots.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that crossing over into podcasting? You were having private conversations with people.
Yeah.
And then you naturally progressed into having a formal set, and you're talking to people on camera and being recorded.
So I realized, again, I had an amazing a millennial assistant who was very techie, knew all these things that I don't.
Sure.
I mean, I'm doing good to put an attachment with an email. And, she helped me with that. So I went into the local group and said, I'm looking for these things, and I'm looking for a person that's good at production and editing and this and that. A woman locally, and I also needed logo design.
Sure.
That's where I found her. And so I met with her, and she was like, you know what? I used to live in New York City, and that's the thing. the people here and their journeys are huge and they're great. And she was like, I used to do design work for these designers and now I just do it for fun. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so she was amazing and helped with logo design. And she was like, and you should talk to my friend in New York. She has 3 podcasts and she does this and that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I had a chat with her and she was incredible. She helped me. She sent me the list of everything I needed. And she's like, yeah, just record it, send me an episode, and we'll see how good you are. And I was like, okay, yeah. And so, I mean, perception is your own reality, and people can perceive me however they choose. I don't think I'm very high maintenance. Some people may think that. I like to get my hands dirty. I have a garden, whatever. And my podcasts are not edited. They're not.
Yeah.
They're very raw. They're very authentic. It's just put it and then send it out. So she didn't hardly charge me. It was $15 just every month for her to just. Yeah. And so, and it was just an email. I would just email her a couple of episodes at a time. All she had to do was put the episode with the intro and then press the button to send it out. Literally, there was no editing. Nothing.
Yeah.
So, and because I don't know how to do all the things, I was literally just paying for her to put it up on Libsyn, basically.
Sure.
So that's how I got started. And because I realized that what I'd built within the community was a podcast. Right. And so then I was like, okay, well, how do I do this a little bit more? And so I just reached out within the group, within the community, and said, hey, which one of y'all can help me with this and knows who to talk to for this? And who do you know? It's always the who. The who will help you farther than any other question. And so that's how it launched.
For sure. And did you start off with audio only?
Audio only.
Okay. And then you transitioned into video?
Audio only at my kitchen table in my little townhouse. That's it. Just via Zoom, but still just audio, not video. Yeah. And so it was nice.
Were you using, so the kind of equipment that you're using, what did you start off with?
And this is where it gets fun because I don't know. Okay. I know that the microphone is silver and it says blue.
Okay. It's a blue light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My computer's an Apple Mac and then I use Zoom.
So you just plugged it in. It was plug and play.
Uh-huh.
No buttons or knobs to twist.
Mm-hmm.
You just plugged in.
That's it. That's all I do. I told you I can do an attachment to an email, and that's it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, it shows that there's not. I think a lot of things that keep people from doing their own podcasts is they think that there's a huge barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And that technically, most of it comes from the technical side. Yeah. It's like, well, I don't have the skills or I don't have the equipment. Mm-hmm. And like, it's so easy to, I mean, you can operate a phone. You can definitely record a podcast.
That mindset limits people in almost everything. And so here's what I say to that. I also don't know how to change my oil. I know who to call for that too. And I take that to them. So just like, I want to do this, but I don't know about it, but I am certain I can find somebody who does. And so there is always a who. That's what I was saying. The who that you ask in life, whether it is in questioning an interview or there's finding something that you need of your next step, it's always going to be the best question.
For sure.
Because it's who do I need to surround myself with? Who can help me leverage this? Who helped you do this? Who? The who is always going to be the best.
How did you pick your guests? And it's like, and you also don't have a journalism background, correct?
No,
you don't.
Not degrees in home economics.
There you go.
And teaching.
So that's interesting. Like, how did you pick your guests, and then how did you pick your interview style, or was it just a natural conversation?
Oh, so I am very well trained in DVDs because that's what we all watch still, right? DVDs, right? So I went back and watched all my Oprah DVDs.
Okay.
And then I went and watched Barbara Walters. I'm not kidding. I swear. Yes, for real. And, so I really should be wearing pearls, and sit like this for everything. But no, for real, that's what I did. How do I pick my guests? I have to have a lot of interest and curiosity around it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be excited. I'm not going to form questions around it. It's just not going to happen. If it's a forced interview, if it's a forced topic, I'm not gonna care. Obviously, I have a lot of energy, and I'm a passionate person about things that I do and things like that. And so, if I don't feel it, you're gonna know it. It's hot or cold with me. Okay. And so, if I don't care about what you're doing, and it's not gonna be the benefit of my audience, then it's gonna come across. You're gonna know it. I'm very transparent. I'm gonna tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, it's just like, I call them the vagina ladies. I love them so much. I've had them on 3 times. The last time was with video, and so we did show and tell, and they brought a clitoris on, and I was like, no one should ever not be able to find this again. Like, and this should be sent to everybody. Like, everybody's partner needs a copy of this episode now. But it's like, these are things that are big issues to women. And I think, like, being able to also see the daily posts and comments in the group, I am fortunate and blessed enough to get a bird's eye view of what are the daily struggles for women. And that then lets me know who I need to be talking to. Because then I have raw data, if you will, around the topic and the subject. And so that fuels a lot of it too. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a good point. Having guests and content that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So just starting a podcast because it might be just a hot button issue at the time. And like you have an episode on it, but you're not really into it. You're just trying to get those numbers.
No.
Like, it definitely comes across being dispassionate. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
We've had this, the same sort of similar issue with like speakers for our festival. I know that there is a big space that we're missing in sports. Sports is not my thing, and I always forget it. And I know that there are people that are doing it successfully. Maybe in Northwest we'll have somebody there, but
I mean, I love to talk about cute boys in tight pants chasing balls, but
that's a different reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's referred to as color commentary. And so I can talk about sports. And I mean, I was cheerleaders, and I had not just cheerleaders, like, I had to pass the test to know the game before I could cheer. Like, so it wasn't just standing in a cute skirt. So I would love that. I was on the buzz.
Really?
Yes. I was on the buzz on their show, That's What She Said. It was so fun. So I think that is a need. Yeah. Yeah. And I'd love to talk to them about cute boys and tight pants.
Sports fans will love that.
I would love that. I would love that. I would love to do that.
So hopefully you get a lot of networking out of this, the event that's coming up, and add to the other podcasters and speakers that are going to be there. Like learning from each other, growing from each other, which is what you're all about. That's why we really wanted to bring you in. Of course, you built an entire community. Yeah, podcast is only one part of it, what you do. But I think it's an important part for people and media, period, in Arkansas, for us to be able to share our stories.
Yeah.
There's no barrier to entry, hardly. It's barely there.
Yeah.
And so if you can plug a mic.
Just plug a mic in. Yeah. I mean, here in a studio like this, there's all these phone things for I don't know what they're called. What are these things called? What are these phone things called?
So these are sound dampening panels.
Okay. Sound dampening panels. Good. The phone things on the walls. Yeah. So, like, I know nothing about all the things. All I know is I want to talk to you. I want to unpack you. Yeah. Like, that's all I care about. That's all I want to do. And I think that makes good content. Yeah. And so all the pretties and all the things, like I said, I'm not really high maintenance. I'm not. I promise. Like, all the bells and whistles, I could care less. I really just want to get to the meat, and I want a Barbara Walters you. That's what I want. Yeah. Like, for real.
No, for sure. And your content is number one. It has to be number one. Like whatever it is that you're recording, if you've got good content, good conversations that are happening, then anything else, I mean, people are willing to deal with. If you've got a washing machine sound in the background, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they'll cut through bad audio just to get to the conversation.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's like, I interviewed Heather Baber Rowe, and she has an incredible story. They own 5 restaurants now. She started out homeless as a single mother, waiting tables, sending her son to friends' homes to get dinner every night because she wasn't able to feed him. Now she's feeding the masses. And, she's an alcoholic, in recovery, of course, and their restaurants are known for their amazing bars and their drinks that she has cultivated and all these things. And she continues to help her staff stay in recovery and be in recovery and all these things. But, to go from being so hungry to feeding the hungry, that stuff, I love those stories. And it fascinates me of what is it about someone that causes them to pull themselves up from the bootstraps when so many are not able to. And they get weighed down into the trenches. And then, so what is the difference? How do we find our boots and then put them on, pull them up, and then what keeps those in the trench to where they can't ever find their boots?
Right.
So there's that missing link. And so then those conversations I crave. And so finding that and then those stories, they're huge.
For sure. And I would say that you're an extrovert. Is that safe to say?
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't meet strangers. It drives my, it's funny because it drives my children crazy. And then at the same time, my son is the same way. I joke about the fact that he was 6 years old and I still had to put him in the grocery cart when we went to the grocery store because otherwise he would be 3 aisles over talking to someone, just saying, oh, what are you going to make with that? What are you doing with that? I'm like, Henry, get over here. We don't know them. You're going to go. So you talk about trafficking children. Just go to, I'm my son at the grocery store. Yeah.
So when you started out, you were looking for sort of mentorship and learning from other people. How does it feel transitioning from that to being such, like a regular icon?
Oh, those are big words and I don't like them and they are not accurate.
You don't like to minimize, but the word just.
Yeah.
They say, I am doing this. And so you are doing a lot of things. You are RKRK giving tips to people. You are on the podcast, or you're running the PowerWomen groups, and you want to grow it nationally to where your website says you want one in every city.
I do.
That's ambitious. And you started this. It is.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it can absolutely happen. But I'm saying to say that you want to be in every city in the country.
No, I don't.
That's huge.
That,
like you.
Yeah.
A group of that.
Right.
But you started the original.
Yep.
And so lots of people do look up to you. So how does it feel being the person that other people are seeking out now? When you started off doing the same thing, you were seeking out other people to learn from them, but now they want to learn from you.
I don't focus on that. And so what I've learned is that people are watching you when you don't even know it.
Sure.
And so I now recognize that people were watching me prior to any and all of this, and I never knew it. And people were watching all of us, and we don't even know it. And so there are people looking at us, whether we're on television, whether we have a podcast, whether we're selling real estate and our name's on a sign. It does not matter who you are, what you do. There is always someone looking at you. And titles don't matter. Don't ever mistake movement for achievement. Ever. And so I don't think about it. If you think about it, it gets heavy. And it weighs you down, and then you're not effective, and you help no one. And so I don't know else how to answer that, Ty, except that I don't think about that. If I think about that, then I've missed the mark. Truly. Because if I think about, oh, these people look up to me, that's ego-driven. And I don't think about that. What I do think about is each message, each reach out of, I'm in an abusive situation. I'm starting a different account so that I can get out. What do I do? Who do I contact? I know you don't know me and all these. I'm in the group. I do think about the hundreds that we've helped get out of any and all of the situations, whatever they may be, whether it's domestic abuse, whether it's homelessness, whether it's therapy for their children, whatever it is. But I don't think of them looking at me for that, because it's not me. It's what the group has become. It's the resources that they're there for them. It has nothing to do with me. Again, that group took off and became what it was on its own. I didn't do that. And so I don't feel that people are looking to me for that. I'm only the vessel. That's all. Mm-hmm.
So continue to grow yourself.
Yeah.
You feel like those who are watching you, like they'll continue to see that growth and hopefully be inspired by it or see what they can do in a similar situation?
Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, I hope to always be in growth. I've gotten to where I recognize my patterns of growth, to where certain people will start to come back into my world when I'm in growth patterns, which is fascinating to me. It's like, wow, I haven't heard from you, and that's why I'm in growth again. My sleep patterns also tell me when I'm in growth again. Fascinating. It truly is. I journal, and I've journaled for years now, and so like I now can recognize a lot of my patterns, and one of those is my growth patterns, and so I can see my behavior patterns in it. I mean, I can go back to my writing in the book and now disagree with myself.
You're wrong.
I'm like, nope, totally wrong now. Well, I've grown.
Sure.
Yeah. And so people may look to me and they may say, she's growing and I want to follow that and this and that. However, it's like, because of that, also think about that. What I published 4 years ago, 3 years ago is not who I am anymore. Yeah. And so I read my writings, I'm like, well, I wrote that as such an absolute statement. And it is not, because I will reframe that right now.
Right.
So yes, I hope to always be in growth. And I continue to go to trainings and things that are different and broad, to spark that.
Sure.
And consequently, what I said, did, and wrote, and everything is constantly changing.
Absolutely. And it applies to podcasting as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think about that. I think about, when people go back, years ago to somebody's tweet from the early days of Twitter, you know what I mean? And it's something that it was very off color from who they are today.
Right.
And so I think about that with the episodes too. It's like, whatever you start your first episode off with, don't make anything indefinite,
Right.
Like that. You covered yourself in the beginning. You're like, in my opinion.
In my opinion. Yes, because it's just mine.
Right.
And I'm only one person.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And, I don't know. People have asked me about politics so many times, want my opinion on things. And then, are you going to run? Would you ever consider? And I'm like, do you know how much I've said out there that can come back as a soundbite? And what that would look like in a political realm for me? It would not be pretty. And or maybe it would. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But the answer to that right now is definitely not.
But not running for office. Okay.
No.
If anybody was wondering.
If you're wondering.
Claire Brown is running for office.
No, Claire Brown has bills. That doesn't pay them.
So you're right. Great. Well, we're excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to ask. I thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think people are going to get a lot of value off it. And you've got so much more to share than what we've heard here. And can't wait to see you on stage for that. If people want to follow you until then, where can they go?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Here's my phone number. No, I'm kidding. So you can find me on social media, Facebook, I'm Claire Baxter Brown. Instagram, I'm Claire Brown Realtor. I'm on LinkedIn, Claire Baxter Brown. I don't enjoy the Twitter. It's not my favorite. My assistant has brought my account back, whatever.
It's not for everyone.
It's not. And I just can't follow it. I can't keep, I'm like, where did that go? And I don't know. I can't handle all the things. I'm too linear, I think, sometimes. And I think it's a 40 thing. After I turned 40, it's like, you can't talk to me right now. I have to finish the text. And it's like, I can't go all that. And I promise I'll get there in just a second. So I don't know. Maybe 40 made me ADHD. I don't know. But it changes everything. Maybe that changed too. But yeah, so I'm on the YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. thepowerwomen.org. You can find everything there.
thepowerwomen.org.
It's thepowerwomen.org.
Okay.
And it's themoverealty.com. Yes, you'll find the book, the podcast, you'll find coaching programs, you'll find everything. And then, of course, you'll find all of our real estate and everything else we offer there, too.
All the episodes of your podcast.
All of them.
thepowerwomen.org.
Yep. Even the originals, even the audios, and then the videos and everything else. They're all there.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Claire. I'm looking forward to September 7th with you at Arcast.
Thank you so much.
The Arcast podcast is brought to you by the Arkansas Podcast Collaborative. Arcast is the Arkansas Podcast Festival, and it is going to be happening throughout September. That's right, September 1st through the 6th, we'll be hosting free workshops across Central Arkansas, and on September 7th, we will have the main event of Arcast 2023 at the Innovation Hub once again. On September 20th, we're taking the festival on the road to Northwest Arkansas, where we will be hosting a podcast workshop at the Fayetteville Library, and the next day will be our very first annual Arcast NWA. Tickets, reservations, and sponsorships are available at arkansaspodcasters.org.